Thanks, bro.
So what would your quote-unquote mother hill be?
My mother hill, my home mountain would be the Lookout Pass.
Large City Mountain. Probably like Blacktail, like by Kalispell.
Stevens Pass, it's in Washington. Sugarbush, Vermont.
I'm from the Pocono Mountains in northeast PA, and my mother hill there is Camelback.
So what was the sort of skiing culture or environment like while you were growing up?
That's a good question. I grew up in Vermont, and in Vermont, skiing is like a very much like, it's a rich person sport, and I didn't have the accessibility to it or the resources. So growing up, there was never really an option, but when I got to college, there was a lot of programs that got offered to us undergrads, and so I got my opportunity. My junior year, I got free lessons. It was awesome, but I think moving here, I've gotten way more into the ski culture because I think the demographic is so different, and a lot of people who ski now are mostly college kids, or just people living paycheck to paycheck at this point. And everyone's just kind of in it for the fun of it and not for the marketing or for the, the exposure to it. Like, not the looks, it's about actually doing it,
The fun of it.
Yeah, the fun of it, exactly.
Alright. Beautiful.
I grew up on, like, pretty lower class mountains, so it was always, like, a fun culture. There was never a lot of, the elitism you can get out of more expensive ski resorts. I grew up with, pond skins and people wearing bikinis on the hill, and just people that wanted to have a good time. My mom was friends with a whole bunch of ski bums in towns outside of Lookout, Wallace, and Mullen, and so we'd be hanging out in bars with these 30-year-old dipshits who just skied for a living. It was the greatest way to grow up, actually.
Okay, growing up, the ski culture in northeastern PA, there's a local culture, people who live in the area and since they were young, but there's also like a weekend culture when there's a lot of tourists. So a lot of my friends who live there and ski their whole lives are also ski instructors and interact with the culture of tourists a lot more. I personally was influenced to ski only on the weekdays as to avoid the influx of people on the weekends. Yeah, so it's definitely a big tourist attraction in PA.
For me, it was definitely very prestigious. There was a lot of wealth, and it was definitely a privilege to be able to ski.
Have you ever thought maybe what your skiing patterns and your recreation patterns look like and how that has maybe some environmental impacts?
Let's see, that's a good question. I think regardless of any type of sport you do, you're gonna have an environmental impact, because I think as humans we are parasites a little bit to the planet, and we're always extracting its resources or putting in things that shouldn't be in. But I think skiing wise, I think it's one of the sports that does the best job of acknowledgement that it does do to the planet. I know mountains close at a certain time, so that way it's just the mountain has a full rest. I know the last mountain that was like pretty much made into a skiing mountain was like in the 70s. So I mean, at least on the west coast that I know, and in Vermont, like it's only been from the 70s. So it's been a full minute since we've chopped down trees to create trails and stuff, which I think is a really good thing. But I see the damage that it still has and the impact it has on Mother Nature for sure. Car-wise, like driving, commuting, I mean, people drive all the time to go to the mountains, but I think in the grander scheme, people who like fly out and they're constantly like doing these huge trips that just like really don't do good at all if you think about it. And it's quite wasteful, and I don't know, it's one of those things that again, like it's starting to become a sport for people who do have money and who are in the 2%. And I think there's a huge number of us who just want to keep it, you know, accessible and clean.
How have weather and climate patterns changed over your time of recreating, and what changes have you noticed personally?
When I was younger, it was definitely never a problem. Like the snow, the amount of snow you would get for skiing, it was like not something that I thought about or worried about. But then these past couple of years have kind of changed that, noticing less and less snow, especially last winter, with like a non-existent ski season. But yeah, that was rough. But this year we had a lot more snow, but I feel like I still definitely notice a lot of difference.
For sure. It's like here, last year was rough. Also in Utah, it's similar. It's just super drastic, and especially when recreating in the backcountry and looking at the snowpack, it's not ideal when you have all these drastic, crazy events and there's no like sort of stability within the snowpack because of that. So it can be really hard to get out in the backcountry too, but also just skiing at the resorts, I've noticed a big difference as well.
How are you commuting to your hills?
So when I ski in Montana, I don't have a car here, so it's carpool by default. But back home in PA, I used to drive myself every day in my own car, and that was like 10-15 miles both ways. And it was more often than not me driving my own car, meeting my friends driving their own cars as well.
How and where are you sourcing your gear?
A lot of my actual ski equipment, like my skis and my poles and helmets and goggles, that kind of stuff, I do buy new. I usually buy like last season's model or something like that. I don't have brand new stuff, but most of my outerwear, my layers, I thrift a lot of that. The shell that I wear is thrifted. The pants that I wear, I got like 3-year backstock. All the layers that I wear are just thrifted or stuff that I have. I try to be responsible about that, mostly just like because of personal economic stuff, but also in the back of my mind there's the environmental aspect.
Do you think that you need to take more personal action, or does relying on your community or just the skiing community as a whole kind of fulfill that need?
Okay, well, I think I could say, like, yes, I can do more on my personal behalf, and I can also say that my community does a lot. A lot of the friends that I have on campus that are pretty invested in, like, snow sports are also some of the most, like, climate response involved. So I think partnering with people in that community would be my way of putting in my own personal action and like collaborating and organizing, and also trusting that as a community we're doing what we can together.
Oops. Oh my god. This is so shaky, bro.